Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Invictus Racing League Tier 3, brought to you in partnership with Gridfinder. Tonight we'll be racing round the Circuit de Monaco, also known as the Jewel of Formula 1. Lots of action in store for you tonight, as the 20 drivers we have on the track will be trying to navigate their way through the many turns of Monaco. I am joined tonight with Ewan. How are you today, Ewan?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thanks, mate. It's going to be a action-packed one on store for tonight, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it won't be a sense of trying to predict the top three. I think it'll be a sense of trying to predict how many DNFs.
It could be a case, yeah. You're not wrong there. Good evening, Simon. How are you today, mate? 20 drivers on track tonight will make for plenty of action, I don't doubt. So see who's coming out of the pits first. Gotta go careful on pit exit. There's the right hand side. There is the wall that sticks out a little bit, and if you're trying to keep yourself inside that pit exit, it's easy to clip that wall on the right hand side, so hopefully people can avoid that tonight. Simon says he is very much looking forward to tonight's race. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. So I'm not gonna. I don't know about you, Ewan, but I'm not even gonna bother trying to predict the fastest quali lap round here, because I think it's gonna be a case of actually just who plays it the safest, maybe not who goes the quickest round here.
Yeah, I think that is very much the case.
Yeah, the Monaco Grand Prix, also known as a race of attrition, that's for sure.
And I think the track might be getting a new name after today, potentially.
We'll have to wait and see.
I think we were calling it.
He might have a good one. We don't know yet. This will be where he doesn't crash and he has an outstanding race of all tracks.
Absolutely.
Darryl for pole and race win. Good evening to Elliot in the chat. Nice to see a few people joining us. Right, so we are on board with Tinus. Let's take telemetry away, and we can have a nice on board of this one. So let's see how much speed he can carry through the first few corners. Down into fourth gear, keeping it nice and tight. Let's go careful on the exit. There's a little bit of a bump in the road, so you've got to go off to the right and avoid that so you can get a nice run down the hill. A good turn, and then the famous Grand Hotel hairpin, also been called the Lowe's hairpin, and several other names previously. He's all keeping it nice and tidy for now. Running down through the tunnel, an easier place than people realise to actually crash the car, but Tinus keeps it nice and steady through there, down into the Nouvelle chicane. Careful not to cut the corner there. I've realised actually with these settings I can't see it, and he has cut the corner. I did look that way. So unfortunately that will be an invalidation for Tinus Optional. Let's go on board with Nitro instead. See if he can navigate that Nouvelle chicane a little bit better, as Darryl is on pole for now. Although I'm sure there'll be plenty more times. 1:12.348. And compared to the rest of the drivers who set the time at the moment, that's not a bad time.
Yeah, I was on board for him. I'm on board with him at the moment, and it looked like a flawless lap. He looked very familiarised with this track.
Yeah, a couple of 1:12.6s behind him, but he has still got the fastest lap. Or as I say that, JP goes fastest with a 1:12.3. Now JP has been very good at qualifying, so that could possibly be a good time for himself. And just, what's that, less than 2 100ths quicker than Darryl. Let's go on board now with somebody else. JPH, third fastest with a 1:12.4. A good time from himself. His officer Red is about to cross the line, and he will take himself up into the top 10. That's again not a bad time, as we are seeing the first few times flying in now, and it looks like people are really going for it. Not so many doing a bank lap, or Jolly did only have a 1:14.2, but that could have been a bit of an issue during the qualifying. I didn't see his. So a couple more on track. Mikey running up the hill. Just to keep it nice and tight and careful not to lose the back end through here. But he takes a little bit of a snap as he goes straight over the mound. That little bit of a hill is to cover is because of a tunnel underneath. So they've got to raise the road a little bit there, which is a bit nasty for those driving. But it's one of the many things you've got to navigate around Monaco. No one said it was an easy track. Yeah, looks like he's harvesting actually, so possibly whether he left the ERS on his outlap or not, it could be the issue here, as he's run out of ERS unfortunately for his quali lap. Who are you on board with at the moment, Ewan?
I was flicking through, see who was going for it. I think Tinnis is going back out. He is looking to improve his time.
As he on a flyer now? Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone into the pits.
Oh.
Possibly Sam Flan is on a flying lap here, 30% ERS. Couple of corners left to navigate. And then up through Anti-Dogs, the final two corners. And he's kept it nice and tidy through there. And that will put him in 13th place. A good effort. 1:13.9, but the fastest lap has gone, well, it was stayed with JP, but it's been improved with a 1:12.0, a couple of attempts quicker than his last time, and that will give the cars at the front a bit of a harder target to aim for. I think a 1:12.0 is not a bad time at all.
I think also is in the actual race, I think, like in the feature race, sorry, it's going to be a very interesting with no safety cars.
Yeah, it's gonna be a weird one for sure. For those of you who are watching that don't know, there's a bit of an issue with the game where, unfortunately, even if the safety car is set to increased, it won't come out. We've got the safety car set to normal tonight just to see what happens. But from testing we've done, only a virtual safety car is deployed. But we did all test that in the first few laps of a race, so possibly a crash later on could bring out a safety car, but I don't think it will. Just a bit of a shame. Just means you've got to go extra careful and not crash at all. I mean, obviously you don't want to crash anyway, but if you have damage, usually you can rely, well, you hope to rely on a safety car to catch yourself back up to the pack, but that won't be the case around here. And we're on board with that too, who's currently set at 1:12.6, and he has gone quicker and possibly a purple first sector for himself. So let's see how he can take himself around the rest of the lap as he goes through the slowest part of any Formula 1 track. And down into the tunnel. A lot of people with very high downforce on their setups, they won't even get into 8th gear when they're going around Monaco, and that is also the case for Atsu as he takes himself down into the chicane. He's kept it nice and tidy there, not clipping the ball on the way out. And a couple more corners before the swimming pool complex. An easy place to drop the car as you cut in and then cut out, but he navigates it nicely. And then just the two corners remaining as he's hoping to beat that time of a 1:12.0 set by JP in the McLaren. The rear wing wide open and a burst up the hill to the start finish line, and that will be he has improved on his time with a 1:12.391, but he stays in third, or should I say now fourth, as Bon Toby has gone fastest, and we're into the 1:11s by the merest of margins. A 1:11.999, just 16/100ths faster than JP. I was looking very competitive at the top, Ewan.
Yeah, I was on board with that, and he just throwing it around the track. He's not scared to throw it around. I think, you know, Bon Toby could challenge for the lead, but Bruce Lee going in there.
Yeah, 1:11.8, even better, as Joseph Green has had to... He's not on a flying lap, so that's fine, actually. A car there parked right in the way. I can't see who that is, and Seb's retired in the pits, unfortunately. Whether that was intentional or not, I don't know. But at 1:11.8 3-0 now for Bracely Harden, and the times are slowly tumbling as the session proceeds. So we're on board with Jack. Currently sat in P10 with a 113.2. He's going to be looking to get himself at least into the 112s here, I think. To have another couple of yellow flags, but hopefully that's not causing anybody issues at the back. He is currently over a second up on his time, so this is looking like a good time. Potentially into the 111s here, and this could see him climb right to the top of the leaderboards. Let's see what time he can manage. 2 corners left to navigate, and he's avoided the wall as he blasts up the start finish straight and over the line for, that is provisional pole, a 111.720, and a brilliant time in that Alfa Romeo. And those below him, who may have thought that they were actually going to be on for pole, actually have a little bit of a wake-up call, as that is now nearly 5 tenths quicker than the original pole position we saw from Darrell Whiffen with a 112.348. Nevertheless, he's out there now challenging for that time. And he is a tenth up, or a tenth and a half even, through his first sector. He's going to need to find nearly 6 tenths, and that's quite a task through Monaco when you feel like you've set a brilliant lap already. But anything's possible.
Nitro Dash's time looking very plausible. Looks like he could beat his 113.6. Let's throw it. As I said with Toby, he's thrown it around the track.
Yeah, currently Darrell is 5 tenths up. He's oh, never mind. He's lost the back end there, unfortunately. But JP has gone fastest with the 111.545. A brilliant time for himself as Darrell drops himself into the pits. Unfortunately, he was quite up on his time. But that is a stellar time at the front of the field, a 111.5. Every time someone looks to challenge that pole position, JP says, "No, thank you. I will have that back."
Nitro does beat his time. And he goes up into 11th.
Yeah, 113.0 from him. Just still a second off the pace. But not far outside of the top 10, and a time he'd definitely be... I think I'd be happy with that time in honestly a difficult track round here.
I'd be happy just to finish.
Setting a time is an achievement around Monaco, let alone finishing near the top.
Yes.
I agree.
I think from what anyone, you know, from watching the streams, you might get the idea that I'm an absolutely awful F1 driver. You would be correct. You would be very, very much correct. I can't race to save my life.
That's fine. Crofty can't race, but he's a brilliant commentator, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Do you used to play the Forza Motorsport games?
No, I don't. I don't have an Xbox.
Ah.
Well, I do, but I don't have Forza.
I played Forza Motorsport 6 once, and it took me 6 months to beat the first event.
Dear.
Yeah, that was a bit of a low blow, and it just set the tone for the rest of my not so glamorous racing career.
I've not played Forza, but I'd like to hope I maybe do a little bit better than that.
Yeah.
So Bontobi. Yeah, Bontobi. Never mind. I was about to say Bontobi is a few attempts up on his time, but he's put it in the wall there outside of the swimming pool complex, and that will be the first DNF on track in qualifying, unfortunately. Still a 111.9, a decent time, and he'd probably stay quite near the front with that time. But either way, there'll be plenty of drivers behind trying to challenge him for that time, as he was the first driver to make it inside the 111s, and he was looking quick again. But unfortunately, the Monaco corners got the best of him, as we're on board with Atsu now, who is currently 7 tenths up on his time. And as Martin says, the commentator's curse, it was almost on time. I'm not sure if you watched the Hungary race, Martin, but there was a similar incident with a car on the final corner as they were about to set a brilliant time, and they unfortunately lost it, and Atsu does just go ahead of Bontobi with a 111.987.
Was that the one within like that was like 2 seconds after you said it would be it's very difficult not to lose it in the final corner.
Yeah, the final corner, it's easy to oversteer. And I said he's got to make sure he doesn't get on the power too early here, and as I say that, on cue, he gets on the power too easily, and he kisses the wall on the right, unfortunately. Well, he did a bit more than kiss the wall, should I say. So Darryl, who was on a flying lap before he made a little bit of a mistake. Let's see if he can improve on his position at the moment. P6, it's not a bad time, as I can't actually see the delta there in the corner because I've got a comment covering it. So the time he's aiming for is a 1:11.5.
That was interesting. Jack set his fastest time. As he was about to cross the line, he bumped into the wall.
Disaster. A 1:11.4, that is a provisional pole for Darryl, and there is not a lot of time to improve. Those drivers who are out on the track, there's probably it's going to be their last run, and those who are not out the track are going to have to get out soon, or they are not going to get a chance to set a time around here. But a 1:11.4 from Darryl Whiffen, after we talk about him kissing balls and calling Monaco Whiffen's World, as you suitably called it. He's navigated the corners quite well there, and he's avoided those walls. And a 1:11.4 is a brilliant time. Owen thinks that a 1:11.12 will be the pole position time. I can't see it being too much quicker than the time that's currently up at the top there. JP is going to go a little bit quicker. 1:11.1 flat. Scotty thinks. What do you reckon, Ewan? Pole position time.
I don't think anyone's beaten Darryl.
Don't think anyone's beaten Darryl. It's definitely going to be a tall order. But if any man can do it, it's this man here. The McLaren of JP 911. He has beaten every single time that's been posted on the board so far. And every time someone's gone quicker than him, he's said, that time is for me, as he is 4/10 up on his time. And as long as he keeps it nice and tidy, that will see him rise to the top of the board. Just a few more corners left to go. So is it a 1:11.2 like Owen thought? Is it a 1:11.1 like Scotty thought? It will be a 1:11.2. And that is a brilliant time as actually retires. And I didn't see if he could. It looks like that was in the pits, fortunately for him. Well, there you go. That time is beaten, Ewan.
Wow. This is why this is why these 20 are racing in a league, and I'm sat here commentating.
I will say nothing. I think 1:11.2, that's a brilliant time. And JPH loses the back end there, and he does see that car in the wall. Luckily he goes as the cars are coming through, but let's just hope he can move his car out of the way for the next few cars running round. But it looks like P7 at the best for JPH tonight, as Nitrogash has invalidated his time. A few more drivers on track at the moment. We've got Joseph Grima in the Ferrari. We do have... Owen's getting in his wins while he can now. Stressbud's looking just to finish tonight, as he didn't set a time. I'm unsure as to whether he came out or not. I don't know. Just play it safe. I can't blame you. He's got a few more drivers coming up towards the end of their lap. A couple of them going into the pit, but that Haas will cross over the line. And let's see if he can improve on his position. As he does, he goes up to P12 for Office Red. Not a bad time there. A 1:13 flat. As the Ferrari comes running up the hill. What position can he make it up into? He's P11 at the moment, and he does find himself a big leap up into P6. That is a brilliant time from himself, and I think that is the final runner. So the order that's on screen now, what you see is what you get a pole position for JP in the McLaren, with Darryl his closest competitor just 2 tenths behind.
That was incredible. That was an incredible qualifying session, may I say.
Yeah, some brilliant laps being posted, that's for sure.
I think Atsu and Bon Toby are going to be a little bit gutted with their DNF.
Yeah, indeed. I think Atsu didn't have time to set another lap because he went on his second to last lap a little bit late.
Yeah. I think Bon Toby, especially, he was fourth with that 111.
Yeah,
pretty much in the just under 112 flat, and
yeah, and he was up on his time as well. But this is the positions for qualifying. We have JP on pole in the McLaren, with Darryl just behind him in P2, a time that he was not expecting, he's told me. Jack will be in P3 with the Jamaican of Trems J in P4. Bruce Lee Harding just behind him in P5 with Joseph Grima and the other Ferrari of Atsu in P6 and 7, lining up alongside each other. Bon Toby in P8 with JPH in P9, who would have expected to do better, but he had a bit of an incident, and unfortunately that sees him just in the top 10. Nitrogash, the second performing McLaren, in P10 with LDR Gamer in P11 just behind him. Officer Red in P12 with Sam Flan and Kurt shortly behind. And then we go to the back of the field with Sab at P15, Tinus in P16, and the other Red Bull of Jolly Jolik in P17. Mikey at the back with two runners who did not set a time. Those are Jarrell and Sir Spud, so they will be at the back of the field tonight. A good qualifying and hopefully a brilliant race to follow as we see all the pit crew currently T-posing. I think they should be out there helping their drivers, but never mind. So as we wait for the drivers to pick their strategy, I would ask you, what strategy would you run around here? But I think your strategy might be to keep it out of the walls, Ewan.
yeah. Make it past lap 2.
Make it past lap 2. I think I don't really know what's the quickest strategy around here. I've not done a lot of testing, but it's usually a medium to hard or hard to medium. And with the knowledge of no safety cars, I feel the hard to medium. Yeah, I think the hard to medium will be the quickest way around the track, especially if you're near the front of the field. Zoe is rooting for Spud to win the race. Starting from the back, that would be an incredible performance if Spud is to take the win round here tonight. I think all you got to do is capitalise on a few mistakes around Monaco, and you'll see yourself flying up the order for sure.
From the backdrop here, Monaco just looks like a lovely city. It's a principality, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but it does look beautiful. I see why so many people move there. Not that I can afford to do that, that's for sure.
Yeah. Is this Charles Leclerc's home?
It is, yeah. Charles Leclerc's home Grand Prix, as he is a Monegasque himself. He sounds very French. Obviously, they are native French speakers in Monaco. But there are several drivers who do live out here now, as a lot of them do choose to move here. This is one of those races alongside Silverstone that is a must win, and one of the biggest races to win. And if you were to win only one race, this would definitely be right at the top of your order. It is certainly an achievement to say the least, just to finish the race, let alone win it. Someone's saying people are moving there to avoid tax. I think, Simon, I could be wrong with this, but it's only Monaco residents that were born and bred in Monaco who actually don't pay tax, and not everybody who lives there. But I could be wrong. So we're just waiting for them to choose their strategies. We have a 2-minute window, so that all the drivers have plenty of time to choose what fuel they're going to run. With no safety cars, underfueling is probably not an option around here. And then also the choice of starting tyres, which we predict we will see most on the hard tyres, especially at the front of the field. And maybe as we work our way backwards, people will run the medium tyres to try and get themselves a few positions at the beginning. It's very difficult to overtake around here, but maybe right at the beginning is going to be your best chance.
Yes, there's a note from JPH himself asking drivers to be careful into turn 1, the less carnage the better. I don't think that's going to happen.
The classic quote, no heroics into sound develop. But here we go, the drivers will get themselves onto the grid. And with no formation lap, it will be straight underway. So here we go, 5 red lights. And who will get the best start? It will be the... it looks like actually Darrell Whiffen has got the better start here, and he will look to go up ahead of JP, and he will take the lead into the first corner, and it looks like someone did kiss the wall there. But most drivers have kept themselves nice and clean. No one spun around, and that is a brilliant start from everybody. Most drivers are on those medium tyres. We've got one soft runner and a few hards, but medium does look like the way to go.
I think I've just seen a rear wing.
Yeah, looks like some contact there.
Crash.
Into the hairpin. I'm trying to get a better view of it, but I keep cutting away. There looks like some damage for a Red Bull and maybe an AlphaTauri as well. Sab going slow, 5 seconds for Jolly Jollig. I didn't see who caused that collision, but a bit of chaos at the back of the field, and that will be a virtual safety car. Several cars there caught up in a little bit of a calamity, and it looks like from Mikey in the Alfa Romeo that everyone in some way or another was involved. I thought I saw some damage a little bit further up. Yeah, the front wing of the AlphaTauri of LDR Gamer is missing, unfortunately. There'll be a few going into the pits here during the virtual safety car, although they won't have much choice with that front wing damage, as the Ferrari MP5 Atsu, who did have a brilliant qualifying, has gone into the pits. We will see a few more, I don't doubt. Both of the AlphaTauris, and they're unfortunately going to double stack in there as we do go green and the racing gets underway, but there are several in the pits, and that is not a start that a lot of the drivers would have wanted. Only 13 people made it through lap 1 unscathed.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't think it was Jolly that went in the wall. I think he went in the back of the car, but because the car in front went in the wall, he went straight in the back.
I see. He managed to avoid some damage, but he has picked up a 5-second penalty there. Possibly that 5 seconds was not his fault, and it might be removed by the stewards come the end of the race. But for now, he does have that 5-second penalty. But a very action-packed start to the race, and lots of damage, as we have, like I said, 6 drivers in the pits. 7, sorry, in the pits. Darrell has managed to hold on to that lead after getting a brilliant start as he clips the wall on the right hand side there, but that should be the rear right wheel, and as long as the wheel hasn't came off, which it evidently hasn't, he shouldn't have any damage there, and he will get away with that one, but that will get the hopes of JP up, as Darrell is making a couple of mistakes as the fastest laps are coming tumbling in. But again, that doesn't mean too much, as this is our first lap of green racing. DRS is enabled. It looks like JP is all over the rear of Darrell Whiffen. I don't know if he's holding him up at all, but it looks like that McLaren's got a little bit more pace, as he did not get the start he wanted. Samflan into the pits, another person possibly with some damage. Maybe he thought he could run his first stint, but damage around Monaco, it's not something you want to carry, is it, Ewan?
No. I mean, I get the damage everywhere. Any corner, get the damage. I don't think I even make it back to the pits, to be honest with you. I think my rear wing goes and then the wheel goes on the corners.
That's the thing, as soon as you got some damage, it is hard to nurse the car back home, especially around a track like this. But they all managed to navigate their way back to the pits, although it was under some yellow flag racing. So that does make it a little bit easier. Let's see who's made the most positions so far, and a lot of those positions, they could be, where is it, position change, there we go, they could be due to several incidents ahead of him, but the most important position gained would be Darrell Whiffen up into the lead. Bruce Lee's found a position himself, as well as the other Aston Martin of JPH, who's managed to find 3 positions up into P6. And towards the back of this front group of drivers, some big moves. Mikey, Jolly Jollig and Jarrell all capitalising on mistakes. So Spud found himself a position, but that is only from 20th to 19th, unfortunately for him, as he did get caught up in those incidents, as Jolly Jollig is having a little bit of a moment there through the corner. But the closest battle still seems to be for the lead of the race, or the top 3 in fact, all within a second of each other, with Bruce Lee just hanging on behind. There's only one DRS zone around Monaco, and that is the start-finish straight. And it's not a very powerful DRS straight either, as we do have a yellow flag, and that looks like a spin for Tinnis Optionil. Yeah, that is Tinnis Optionil, unfortunately, as he drops to the back of the pack. So we still have 20 drivers with us. No one's retired just yet, which is always good to see.
Don't speak too soon, though.
No, no, don't speak too soon. That's correct. But plenty of action on track. So we are on board with Jack. Just 3 tenths behind JP. You're starting to sense that possibly Daryl is holding a few drivers up here. But nevertheless, if you're in the lead, you're in the lead. If Tinnis Optional picks up 3 seconds, I feel that could be for cutting the Nouvelle chicane with no front wing. I think we've all been there. Still Jack, can he make a move down out of the tunnel? He's not quite close enough. One of the very few opportunities to overtake around here, as Tinnis does retire in the pits, unfortunately. 2 lots of damage. That is unfortunately enough to see a race over, isn't it, Ewan?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's beaten me. He's got lap fire.
As indeed. Just about a couple of laps. He didn't crash out at least, so there's at least something he can hold.
Yeah. I'm hoping there won't be anyone that crashes out, but it'll be good for the stream. Okay. We don't want anyone to crash, do we, Joe?
No, the more crashes we can avoid, the better.
It might test the safety car.
It might test the safety car. You're not wrong. As Jack is very close to the ring of JP, almost pushing him through the Grand Hotel hairpin as they come around Portier down into the tunnel. And Jack is looking a hell of a lot closer to the McLaren, and he could be looking for a move down into the Nouvelle chicane. But it doesn't look like he quite has that straight line speed, as he's going to stay behind the McLaren for now. But this is a very close fight between the two of them, as Dowell is trying to put a little bit of a gap to these two as they tussle behind him. He's going to be hoping that they can cause each other a little bit of an issue, so he can just sort of drift away. But it doesn't look that way, as the top 3 have now disassociated themselves from the rest of the drivers. Bruce Lee has fallen out of that DRS zone, albeit the DRS not very powerful around here. But the top 3 drivers are separated by 4 tenths each as we go into lap 7. So far, just the one DNF, Tinnis Optionil. And he did retire in the pits. That wasn't a crash on track. But 2 separate incidents, is enough to see a race over, as you will be lapped. As Darryl goes a little bit wide there. But as long as he doesn't make a big mistake, it's very hard for anyone to make a move, an opportunistic move. As Tinnis says, 2 front wings in 4 laps. His team boss said it's going to be an expensive day today, and to bring the car into the pits. And I think, as we feared, Ewan, that 2 lots of damage is unfortunate enough to see your race over, as you will be lapped after that.
Yeah, and it is sad. It is sad to go so early, but, you know, early night.
Yeah, he can get himself ready and prepare for the next race a little bit earlier than everybody else.
Yeah.
He's been a quick driver tonight this season, is Tinnis Optionil, but Monaco was not the one. It's not all about pace around here, just consistency. As he does leave the session, but still, these top 3 within a few tenths of one another. It's a hard track to make a move on. I don't know where you decide to go for an overtake, Ewan, if you had to.
I don't think I've actually been able to have an overtake.
No, it is a difficult track to overtake. Possibly up into turn 1. It's an option for overtaking, but even there it's a little bit risky unless you really have some pace off the last corner. Down into the... Sorry, go on.
I think also the straight coming out of the tunnel after the chicane, I think is a potential because it's very quick. Not the straight after the tunnel. You go around the left-hander, and it's just incredibly quick. A series of quick corners, as JP does look to make a move down there.
Yeah, JP is looking like to make a move around the outside of Daryl, up through Anthony Nogues, but Daryl's going to close the door on him. But he did have a little bit of a wiggle, and so did JP, and that's going to open the door for Jack to take second place as they are 3 wide down into turn 1. Both the drivers do back out, and Jack did look like he cut the corner there, and he's going to give the position back to JP because of that. But that is some moves being made, and all in all, the positions have stayed exactly as they were. But that goes to show that any little bit of action and a lot can unfold, as it all stemmed from JP trying to go around the outside through the last couple of corners, maybe dashing up the outside of Raskas and up round the corner through Anthony Nogues, but he didn't manage to pull that one off, and it opened the door for Jack to absolutely send it up the inside, but he couldn't navigate his way through turn 1 as they were 3 wide, and I was a little bit fearful for a few drivers there. But they all managed to navigate it nicely, and Dow will keep the lead for now.
Yeah, that crash could have backed up incredibly.
Yeah, as LDR Gamer picks up the first penalty of the night with 3 seconds. That will be for corner cutting, I don't doubt. But will JP go for another move on Daryl Whiffens? Daryl clips the left-hand wall there. I don't think he'll have picked up any damage again, as it was side contact, but he's going to have to go careful through these few corners, or he is going to lose that position. As Mikey picks up the second penalty, 3 seconds, and JPH has managed to overtake Trums there on the start-finish straight. A couple of positions being made for JPH as he's got himself up into P5 alongside his, along behind his teammate, should I say.
JP is all over the rear wing of Daryl.
He is. It's just so hard to make a move through here, and we do have a yellow flag. I didn't see who that was behind. It looks like the front wing is missing off of Trems's car. I did not see what happened as we got a ghoster behind it, but I think that is the car of LDR Gamer who's a lap down. But that damage is going to really halt proceedings for Trems J, and he's going to fall through the field, you would assume here. Down from P8, I'm sure we'll see him go in the pits. Simon asked what the pit delta is around Monaco, and in the game I am not too sure, as we have another yellow flag. That is Jolly Jollig in the final 2 corners. He's got the car underway again, but he's definitely struggling back there. I don't know if you have that information handy on what the pit delta is, but it's normally around 20 seconds. I'm not sure for it here, as it's a very quick entry and exit, so it could be a little bit quicker.
I'm not sure either.
No, we'll have to watch people who are pitting. It could be more sort of 18 seconds, I think. There's no run into the pit, and there's no run out of the pit either. So we'll make it quicker. The real question is, where is JP going to make this move? And he's got to make it somewhere where he can get the move done and not lose a position behind either, as you can just see how much more he can get the car rotated through the corners. I don't know if that's because of setup, maybe because of tyre management, but we have seen Daryl clip the wall a couple of times. He does go sideways out of there, and this could open the as there is a crash, no, that's a retirement in the pits. JP looking up the inside, but not quite. Gap between Nitro and Mikey. Sorry, I missed that comment. It disappeared as we had a bit of action at the front. I thought JP was going to go for a move there out of the tunnel, Ewan.
Yeah, I think Daryl will count himself a bit lucky there that he didn't, as he did take the corner wide, and I think he knew that as well.
Yeah, you can sense that JP is desperate to pass Daryl with him, but he could be looking in his rear view mirror, not forwards, as Jack is going to look to send it up the inside, and that is contact. Luckily neither driver in the wall, but that will allow both Aston Martins and also the Ferrari to fly past, and that is a severe loss of positions. And although it did not end in a crash or it did not end in a race-ending crash, a lot of positions were lost there, and that will see Jack drop all the way down to P7 and JP down to P5 after he was literally about to challenge for first place. We've got a bit of ghosting going on from the AlphaTauri there, as that isn't allowed even if you are a lap down.
What happened? Yeah, I didn't see it.
Jack went for a move up the inside of JP into turn 1. He had every right for the move. He was fully alongside of the car ahead, but he made a little bit of contact with the rear of JP, and unfortunately both cars had a bit of a squirm through the corner. It let a bunch of cars through as they were running a lot faster up the hill. That's not what you want to see for the front few drivers.
No. Darrell's in the pits.
Darrell is indeed in the pits. I would assume he's going to look to get off those hard medium tyres now. Or he's putting on another set of mediums.
Oh, he needs.
And changing a front wing. Yeah, he did have some damage, and that was why he was driving slowly. But interesting that he's picked the mediums again. I would have thought he'd have taken the hards to the end here. And all of a sudden, the race is going to come alive for the Aston Martins as we see a few blue flags. I think that is because of the AlphaTauri there, running between JPH and Joseph Greamer. Simon saying there's a gap opening between Nitro and Mikey, possibly for an undercut. All of a sudden, the need for an undercut has gone out the window within just 2 laps. And you've got to think that those 2 Aston Martins are net leaders at the moment. Even though Darrell's made that pit, he's going to have lost a hell of a amount of time. And those Astons will be leading the field as we have a yellow flag that is Jolly gone round again. Unfortunately, as we see the AlphaTauri cut the corner there. In fact, he's in the wall there. I think he's got his car in one piece. He does. Well, he doesn't have the whole car in one piece, but he's definitely not crashed out. As a retirement for Darrell Whiffen in the Nouvelle Chicane, and it's gone from bad to worse here as he dropped out of the top 10 and now he's dropped out of the race. No safety car, but that will see Darrell's race end there after a brilliant start. Not what he would have been hoping for, as Sam Van picks up 3 seconds of time penalties. Nitro in the pits.
Darrell, we had hope for you.
It is a front wing change for Nitro as well. We did have hope for Darrell, but he became the victim of the Nouvelle Chicane, and Jolly Jolly has put himself in the pits, but he will carry on.
What's it called? The Whiffen Chicane?
Gonna have to come up with new names for everything now, I think.
Yeah, it truly is Whiffen as well.
So we got a couple of drivers there who I think have been lapped, unfortunately. But nevertheless, that is not what Darrell was going to have wanted. And it's definitely going to give the Aston Martins the lead of the race, the pair of them. In brilliant form. It's not all about where you qualify, it's where you finish the race. And at the moment, Bruce Lee Harding is leading that race. And Aston Martin top 2 says Scott, a lovely news as he is the tier 2 Aston Martin driver alongside myself. And current the leader as well of that tier 2 championship in the Aston Martin. And you could sense after tonight, Ewan, that it could be an Aston Martin leading the tier 3 championship as well.
Yeah. If they do this 1-2, I think they will.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a win for JPH last week out, or definitely a very top finish. And 2 weeks in a row, could definitely see him climb up the field here.
Yeah. Very much so.
So we've got those 2 Aston Martins close together, and they are the closest on track at the moment. And you do sense that it doesn't really matter who's the quickest. No one's going to be letting anybody through around Monaco, otherwise you're opening yourself up from attack from behind. As we are seeing some blue flags still, and we do have a collision. That is JP, who has also retired. The 2 front runners are out of the race, and the Aston Martins are definitely going to be happy about this one. As JP retires from P5, he had a little bit of contact with Jack, and that will see his race end early. That is dreadful news as he comes out of the swimming pool complex. I didn't see what happened, but I don't doubt that he spanned the rears as he exited the corner. It's easily done, and usually that left wall, it does take a beating. We saw the Red Bull in that wall earlier, and now we see JP retiring there. But this is disaster for some of those who were at the front of this race. But I know other drivers are definitely going to be happy about what's unfolded, as we are seeing a bit of a split now through the drivers. As the front four do have a terrific lead ahead of other drivers, but they are yet to pit. If we just take a look actually at those pits, I think everyone behind, other than Jarrell, has pitted. Jarrell did get caught up in that lap 1 incident. He may not have got damaged, but he would have lost a lot of time from it. But those front four drivers are now going to want to just try and pull the gap as much as they can, get themselves in the pits, as Jack does come in the pits. So, Simon, now is the time to find out what the pit delta is. He had a 23-second lead, more or less, as he entered the pits. And it looks like he's already coming out of the pits, so possibly that pit delta is minimal. Look, he's already out of the pits. And he's really not lost a lot of time there at all. So sort of
17 seconds?
Yeah, 17 seconds is the pit delta around Monaco. Obviously the lack of pit entry and pit exit is the cause for that. But that's some information that Jack can pass along to his teammate Joseph Grimmer, who will probably see himself come in the pits this lap, I'd imagine, as he knows he will not lose a position. And probably stay possibly ahead of his teammate as well. He might even stay ahead of Jack actually if he comes into the pits now. I didn't see what happened with Jack. He's now 18 seconds behind. Oh wait, no, look, yeah, 18. I didn't see what happened. Oh, he's pitted as well. My bad, I'm being silly here. So we do see Joseph Greenmer pit and Bruce Lee Harden in the Aston Martin. That will leave JPH out as the sole runner, who was yet to pit other than Jarrell, but he is a little bit far back. JPH is going to have to put on the bonus here and just force his car through as many corners as he can without any collision, and hope he can bring it back to the pits and keep that first position. But we have got a yellow flag on track, and that does look like an Alpine, possibly of Sam Flan there. I didn't see who. It wasn't, it was the Williams of Sab, who has fallen a little bit further down the order, unfortunately. And there is a retirement for Nitro Gash on track. That is during the swim pool complex. I did not see what happened there, but he's gone straight on. If we just see his car here, it's like he didn't turn for the corner, Ewan. Did you see what happened?
No, I didn't. I'm following JPH.
Oh, I wonder if that was contact there, because that is a very unusual place to crash the car. It's parked at a leftwards angle into the chicane when the turns are right, and unless he turned in too early and clipped the wall, a little bit like Charles Leclerc did, I can't really see how you're going to crash the car there. As Zoe says, Spud 4 driver of the day at the moment, up into P13. He did start in P12, so he's had a brilliant race so far. He's made 8 positions. He's one of the biggest movers on the field tonight. Just Jarrell, who has yet to pit, Mikey and JPH leading the race, have made more positions. But let's see where JPH is going to come out of the pits. He's going to come out behind his teammate and also behind Jack. But it is a fast corner. But he is going to tuck in behind the Alpha Tauri, no, not the Alpha Tauri, sorry, the Alfa Romeo of Jack TM53, who could look to see a penalty for that collision with him and JP, but he was entitled with the space through turn 1. Those two Aston Martins looked on course for a 1-2, but Jack had something to say about that. So you see a couple more drivers in the pits. And now JPH has got a mission ahead, and that is to overtake Jack. But Jack is all over the back of Bruce at the moment, and that's maybe going to be an easier said than done.
Yeah, especially around Monaco. We've not really seen many overtake, except for the start-finish straights. So, who knows?
Yeah, it is a difficult track to make a move. We saw JP behind Darryl really struggling to get past, even though he clearly had more pace.
The only issue with Bruce defending now is that it will allow the rest perhaps to join back up.
Yeah, that is the issue.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Bruce is going to want to try and maybe try and avoid this battle as much as he can. But if he isn't, at least not hold up the car behind too much so that the pack can collect him. But he won't mind too much as JPH is the car behind him. And that could allow some pressure from the Aston Martin from behind as well as Bruce Lee up in front. So we see another blue flag.
Yeah, because you've got Joseph now on the back of JPH as well. And you know, both Aston Martins could be at risk of losing the position. We could have gone from a 1-2 to a 2-4.
Yeah, indeed. That's not what they want to see, as we did have the Aston Martin 1-2 at one point. But all the drivers navigating the corner successfully. So we see the other Aston Martin in the background there. 2.5 seconds is the gap now between P2 and P3. And before those pits, JPH was leading. Sorry, he was second behind his teammate Bruce Lee Hardin. But he did lose that position. And it just goes to show when two teammates are on track very close together, it's a difficult call as to who pits, and usually the leader will be the one who gets the first choice to pit. And that has costed a position for JPH, and I don't know if he's struggling on those hards, but he's just falling further and further behind. As tyre warm-up's very difficult around here, not much space to swerve and weave at all to fire up those tyres. But he is looking like he's under attack from Joseph Greenman behind, like you said, Ewan.
I don't think Aston Martin will truly complain with a 2 on the podium, you know. But then again, though, they were scheduled. Well, they were set for a 1-2 in Azerbaijan, but that didn't go to plan. So they'll be happy to have 2 on the podium, I think.
Yeah, that is very true. It did all slip away from them as JPH ran. I think he overshot turn 4 and went straight down into the runoff. And then he struggled getting the car back around, and that was really points over for JPH as he did not get off to the best start of the season after winning the Constructors' Championship last year. They were in the McLaren, but they did still win it. But they are in the Aston Martin this season.
Yeah, the Aston Martins are looking strong this year, from what I've seen.
Yeah, indeed, the Aston Martins are looking strong. There's no doubt about it. I think we had an Aston Martin win in Tier 1 as well last week. That was Emir Jurakovic, who did win the race. I was commentating that one alongside JPH, who was the Tier 1 commentator with Webbo normally. So I'm sure he was happy about an Aston Martin crossing over the line in first place. But the question is, will an Aston Martin cross over the line in first place tonight?
But, I mean, another question is, will an Aston Martin finish in third, have a penalty drop down to 4, have the penalty taken away so they get back into third? Oh wait, no, sorry, that's the Jeddah script, my bad.
Indeed, an interesting one last night. Hopefully none of that here. No penalties, no 5 seconds, no 5 seconds, no 10 seconds added after the race. Or possibly only maybe for a penalty for Jack, but he didn't look to do all that wrong, if I'm honest. There may have been a collision, but he was definitely alongside approaching turn 1. But I'm sure that will end up in the stewards, and we'll have to wait and see. But either way,
JP is not happy with his retirement. I think it was a issue with LDR.
Oh, a collision rather than a mistake by himself, then possibly. As LDR is up into P11 now. He was running near the back at one point, so spud into P14. Maggie, who is pitting for the second time, I think now in P8, the biggest mover on the field at the moment, 10 positions, starting in P18, and from P18, yeah, I don't think you're going to expect to get points around Monaco. But he's done a good job here, and he's managed to find his way up into that top 10. But Joseph Greenman is currently the driver looking to make a position, or possibly even Sab on LDR Gamer. Very close, and will he make a move into turn 1? A little bit of contact Luckily he avoids the car spinning there, but Sab is all over the back of that AlphaTauri. And he wants him to get a move on so he can start chasing the cars up ahead. Sab will be desperate for some points tonight. After a couple of mistakes from himself today, whether they were mistakes or not, as we see Sab letting a few... Oh, so he's letting the leaders through. I was wondering what was going on there. As he is being waved those blue flags, and that will see him drop behind LDR, unfortunately.
Oh, Joseph Bream just flipped the back of JPH. I don't think it's a... I don't think it's caused any significant damage, but he's just come around the casino hairpin there, and he just took it. He's just not brake quick enough, and he just clipped the back of JPH. But it doesn't look like it's going to cost anything.
Just as well, he didn't spin a car there. That is not what you want to see. The top four having collisions.
Darrell was meant to have hards, but it gave him mediums.
Yeah, he's just caught it on the stream. He was carrying damage from turn 1. And that is not what you want to see, for he was the race leader at the time. But nevertheless, the current race leader, Bruce Lee Harding, Jack just 4 tenths behind. As we shift our focus back up to the top. 3 tenths is the gap between Jack and Bruce. Where can Jack look to make a move? It's a difficult one to overtake around here. Yes, Darrell says he pitted and asked for the hards, but he was given the mediums. And in the end that didn't matter as he had a crash. But Bruce Lee harvesting ERS already. And you can see on that steering wheel of Jack that he's got a little bit more to give. And you could wonder, will Bruce be a bit susceptible to an overtake up the start-finish straight? We've seen in previous weeks that the Aston Martins run their front wings a little bit higher than everyone else, or possibly have a little bit more drag than everybody else. As Jack does have a little bit of a moment, he does have a half spin again, and he does avoid the wall somehow. But that will be a breath of fresh air for Bruce Lee Harding, who was looking like losing that position. As Jack has now dropped a couple of seconds behind him, but still JPH is quite far behind these two. Sab is right on the rear of LDR Gamer again once they all let the drivers through. And they have those blue flags. Currently these two are sat between Jack and the other Aston Martin. Now let's see, can Sab make a move? He's just 2 positions off the points here, so this move will mean a lot, because he's definitely got some pace that's being bottled in here. Will he go for a move out of the tunnel, down into the chicane? Or will he play it nice and safe? It looks like he will play it safe, possibly forcing a mistake from the car ahead. LDR is carrying some penalties. I don't know how many he's got. I think it might be 6. Let's just have a look. 6 penalties it is for LDR Gamer indeed. Sab has got a blue flag to let other drivers through, and does so in an interesting fashion. So Jack on the rear of Bruce again, and he lost 2 seconds with that little mistake he made, so you can quite clearly see he's definitely got the pace to take the lead of this race. He's just got to find the place to overtake the Aston Martin of Bruce Lee Harding, who's driving a brilliant defence tonight. And overtaking around here is definitely a tall order, to say the least. Who are your eyes on at the moment, Ewan?
I'm watching the battle between Joseph and JPH, but the issue is that Joseph has built up a line behind him. I think it's sticking. I think Bon Toby's stuck behind it. I think he's being followed, and as I've said about, as I said earlier, and multiple times today, the defence isn't helpful for themselves as well, because it does add a train behind them.
Yeah, you do get the sense that too much tussling for position, it will affect your race, as drivers behind will catch up. And that is what has happened with Joseph Grimm. As you said, Bontobi is in that DRS range. But both Aston Martins are looking quite under threat here.
And if Joseph can't gain any places or any ground, and the car behind him's quicker, then he's going to lose his position, isn't he? So it'll be interesting to see how this one ends. 10 laps to go, nearly.
Yeah, the classic tale of sometimes you've got to look in your rear mirrors when you're looking to make a move rather than looking ahead of you. Sab does eventually get past LDR Gamer. I didn't see that move. But he will be relieved as he's been unleashed. He's got a 10-second gap to catch up with Jarrell in the Haas to try and score some points tonight. But Joseph Greenmer all of a sudden is looking in his rear view mirrors as well as in front of him. And any small mistakes or slip-ups will see the car behind make the move rather than himself. But Jack is 3 tenths behind.
Jack just looks incredibly fast compared to Bruce.
Yeah, he definitely looks like he's got the pace. Bruce has obviously got no ERS, as you can see from the flashing red light. But every time Jack is in that dirty air around the last couple of corners through Anthony Noakes, he has a little bit of a snap of the rear, possibly because of that dirty air, and it just struggles as he does clip the wall there, it looked like. And it means he does struggle to make that overtake, because start-finish straight is usually the only place. But we do have a retirement for Mikey, and that is out of the tunnel in the Nouvelle chicane. It looks like he clipped the inside wall there. If we stay on board with a few others, you might be able to see where he's got that car crashed. But it looks like he's possibly turned in too early and clipped that inside wall. As we see the drivers now approaching, let's see if we can see where that car is stopped. Right in the middle of the road. Thankfully he does ghost there. Yeah, it looks like he's going to have clipped that inside wall there. And the tyre just popped right off. And that will see Sab, after making that move on LDR Gimmer, who did pit in the end, that will see Sab move up into a points position for himself, up into P10. And a few drivers behind him also capitalising on that mistake of Mikey. But that inside wall is same what Darrell did. If you turn in a little bit too early, you will lose a wheel there. And luckily,
how many pits has Sir Spud had?
I don't know. I can check for you. Sir Spud has had 4 pit stops.
4.
I would assume they're all 4 front wing changes.
He's not giving up.
He's not giving up. He is currently in P14. And if a couple more drivers retire, he could see himself in the points here. So it's not always best to just give up and get out of the race. Sometimes finishing the race is the best order, but that, like we said, there will be no safety cars around here, as there is the issue with the game. But these 3 cars, JPH, Joseph Greenmer and Bontobi, all within a second of one another. Jack just within a second also of Bruce Lee Hardin. But no one able to make a move around here, as Monaco is a very difficult track to overtake indeed. And sometimes it doesn't really matter how fast you are. It matters where you are on the track, and as long as you keep it out of the walls and are ahead of another driver, that's quite often enough.
Bontobi now looking right down the rear of Joseph Greenmer here, and in DRS now, but he is peaking. But I do think Joseph Green might overtake JPH, and he's got 8 laps to do it. This could all change.
8 laps to go for the 2 Aston Martins. Can they hold on to first and third? As they were leading the race at one point. We've got a blue flag up ahead for the Haas of Jarrell, who is fighting for his life here. But the blue flag is out. He should be.
Does it show as a ghost?
He does, yeah. If you're a lap down, you will always ghost. And the drivers have found their way past him, thankfully. But that has possibly cost a little bit of time for JPH, because now Joseph Greenmer is right on the rear of the other car, just 5 tenths behind. And Bontobi has fallen out of that DRS range of Joseph Greenmer. But I'm sure with a couple of corners he will make that back, as someone has asked to see the penalties. There is a few penalties on track, that's for sure. 6 seconds for LDR Gamer, and the other drivers of Jolly, Sam, Kerr, Atsu and Trems are all carrying 3 seconds each. That is the current penalty situation. Tyres, JPH on the freshest of tyres, but not the fastest on track. Joseph Green with just only one lap older tyres, so that deficit is not going to be very big. And you would have thought that wouldn't play much part on track. Bruce Lee currently leading the laps. He's also on some fairly fresh tyres as well. Trems J on the most worn tyres in P6. As Landon Gamer says, nice race. Daryl says a DNF tomorrow, a Spa tomorrow, next week, sorry, and he can't wait to make it 3 DNFs in a row. Longest track on the calendar, Ewan.
Yeah, it'll be a long one. But I like long ones. I'm talking about the F1. I'm talking about F1.
Spa is, of course. Spa, of course, is a classic. A dangerous track for some, and obviously we've had a few unfortunate incidents around Spa in recent times.
Spa's got a couple of tight corners, but other than that, it's quite an open race.
Yeah, it's just that blind hill up Eau Rouge. Is any crash there and it leaves drivers behind blindside to what's gone on ahead, and it's caused a few incidents in several different series, obviously most notably in F1 a few years ago.
Is that the one in the second DRS zone?
No, you've got the right hander of turn 1 and then you run up the hill through Eau Rouge.
Okay. Yeah.
And
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and if you sort of spin out the top of Eau Rouge, which is easily done, the barriers fire the car back into the racing line, and unfortunately it's seen several pile-ups in previous years gone by. But we'll be hoping for that to be avoided. We do have Atsu right on the tail of Trems, looking to make a move into the Nouvelle chicane, but that looked like contact with the left wall, and that could be damage for Atsu. He has got a 35-second gap behind him, so he could drop himself in the pits and fix that front wing, but it looks like he's keeping going. As he looks up the inside, he's getting very desperate to make a move on Trems here. As Trems must have some damage, he does. He goes into the pits there, and that will be the position for Atsu. Trems won't lose too much time in the pits because there is a big gap behind him. Sab on the back of the Haas, who is ghosted. You start to wonder if maybe that it could be that the driver of Jarrell is not in that car. But that will see an extra point for Sab, and that will probably be where his progress will halt, as he's got a 24-second gap ahead of him. But all eyes are to the front of the field. Joseph Green was still on the rear of JPH. Bruce has managed to get Jack out of that DRS zone. As Cosmesi said, a little bit of questionable racecraft, as Atsu was a little bit desperate to make the move there on Trems, who did have that damage. It was a little bit questionable. You're not wrong there. It's just nice to see you here, Cosmesi. A shame you're not racing alongside us this season. So can the Ferrari make another position, as that is another 3 seconds for LDR Gamer, 9 seconds for himself, and also a 5th pit stop for Sir Spud, who is in the pits on the soft tyres. The battle at the moment is this Ferrari, 4 attempts. Of course you remember you. Of course you remember you, mate. I watched plenty of Tier 3 races last season. And you were definitely racing very quick some races. It was sort of a bit of a hit or miss for yourself. It was either finish top 5 or finish in the wall, unfortunately. But no more cars in the wall tonight around Monaco, we hope. But Simon has asked, do we know are the front 5 close to a track limit penalty? And Simon, the answer to that is I do not know. and I will not be checking. The race director, as me and Ewan found out around Austria, is a little bit bugged.
An interesting one.
Yeah, if you're a spectator and you open up the race director, you can't close it. So we will not be checking, I'm afraid, mate. And we all know how hard it is to get back into a lobby, so I won't even give you in the task. 4 attempts is the gap.
Well, I can have a look. There's 3 laps to go, or not. I would rather 2 commentators than 1.
Yeah, we'll leave the uncertainty up in the air. The drivers don't know who's close to a penalty, and we don't either. But that's fine.
Racing the Greek League. How are you getting on in that, mate?
Yeah, Cosmesi, he is Greek. He's not randomly decided to race in a Greek league.
Oh.
I hope it's going well for you. Jack clips the wall there on the right hand side. And you could wonder, did that cause some damage? I can't see anything on the front of the car. Oh, I can, there is an end plate missing on the left hand side of Jack's car. And JPH here, he's got 3 laps to sort of get the burners on and catch up with him. It is a 4-second gap, but damage around Monaco makes life very difficult. As Messi says, if we organise any races that aren't officially, he will happily join us. It would be nice to see you back on the field. But this gap here was 4.3 seconds, now 3.6. And you could wonder whether 2 Aston Martins will stand at the top 2 steps of the podium. We saw they did have a chance for a 1-2. And with that collision with the wall, could that 1-2 come to fruition here? 3 laps to go and just 3 seconds to make, but he's made over a second already in less than a lap. And that is not what Jack wants as we go on board with him now. Let's see how he's navigating these corners. Yeah, plenty of understeer as he almost parks the car in the middle of the Nouvelle chicane. And as you see, yeah, JPH has made 4 attempts out of that 1 chicane. As Jack falls off the back of Bruce Lee massively, this is going to be absolute relief for Bruce. Bruce will, as long as he keeps it nice and tidy, he will see this race out as Jack does slam against the wall again. 2.6 seconds is the gap. This is going to be a big chase for JPH.
I think this is going to come down to the last lap.
I think we could be right. 2 laps to go, 2.5 seconds. He's closing in a second a lap. And Darrell Whiffen says, do we just hand Aston Martin the Constructors' title again now? Yeah, they are looking very strong out there, and you could wonder, will that be back-to-back Constructors' Championship, sorry, for JPH and Bruce Lee Hardin. But there's plenty of the season yet to go. And JPH did not have the best start, and so I wouldn't count your eggs just yet. 2.2 seconds. He's not looking like closing his gap too much as Joseph Grima still sat on the rear, as well as Bon Toby on the rear of Joseph Grima, and very tight here.
JPH does have the ERS advantage.
That should be enough to see the cars behind him stay there. But it doesn't look like JPH, as Owens just said, is going to make this pass. He's still got 2 seconds to make, and there's only a lap to go. As he says, he has to catch and pass him. He was gaining a second and a half a lap, but I don't know what happened, but that's all of a sudden gone out the window.
Now he's got Joseph on his bum.
Yeah, again,
looking to make a move to go from 2 Aston Martins on the podium to a potential 2 Alfa Romeo, sorry, on the podium. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, up into P3, that would see him on that podium. But Joseph Green was in the Ferrari, not the Alfa Romeo.
Sorry, I was right the first time. I said Ferrari, corrected myself, and then I was wrong.
So good. So I don't know if anyone caught on, but back here I said there was 2 Red Bulls leading the line with Darrell Whiffen and Tinnis Optionil, because Darrell was in the Red Bull last season, but he wasn't this season. So final lap, Bruce Lee Hardin, just a few corners left to navigate. I assume he's going to bring this one home slow and steady through the swimming pool complex. 2 more corners left to go. Anthony Nogues, will he keep this car in one piece and cross the line for P1? It does look that way.
Fair enough, JPH. You closed the gap to half a second.
He has, he's caught up, but that will,
enough.
Yeah, that will be a race win for Bruce Lee Harding. Jack will be in second place, pending stewards' investigations. LDR Gamer has crashed on track at the Nouvelle chicane out the tunnel, and that will be a DNF for himself. That will see a few more positions being made at the back, but Joseph Greenman will have to settle for fourth. It doesn't matter how fast he was, but the car... how much faster he was than the car ahead, but he couldn't see a position made, and Jolly Jollig and Sir Spudder will be the last 2 to cross the line. Better race than the real F1 Monaco, he says. Cosmetics will wait for the last driver to cross the line now, and that will be Sir Spud over the line. Sorry, Jolly Jollig is left to cross the line. He wasn't lapped. So we're just waiting for the last driver to cross over the line, but that will be a race win for one of the Aston Martins, and the second Aston Martin on the podium. A brilliant weekend for themselves. And just 5 tenths was that gap for Jack and JPH. But unfortunately, a move was never made in time, as I'm not too sure what we're waiting for now. Sir Spud comes over the line in P14.
Just come past the DRS, and he is just coming over the line.
Ah, okay, it wasn't lapped, I see. Relief for Sir Spud as he finished the race like he was intending. He made a few pit stops, but he did see it over the end, as Atsu was given the driver of the day. And it was a good drive from himself. But
who's your driver of the day, Joe?
I think my driver of the day has got to be Bruce Lee Harding. He started P5 and he climbed up. Possibly his teammate as well, JPH, but he did see that second place slip away. But either way, a brilliant drive from the pair of the Aston Martins. What about yourself?
I think JPH, I think his defence against Joseph was incredible. It was. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
So
that was an interesting race.
It was an interesting race indeed, but the order of the race is a win for the Aston Martin of Bruce Lee Harding. Just behind him, or should I say a few seconds behind him after that collision in the last couple of laps, Jack TM53. That will be pending possible stewards' investigations, as we did see a collision with him and JB, who unfortunately did not finish this race. But P3 for the second Aston Martin, who got himself on the podium after a brilliant recovery after a poor qualifying and a mistake on his last qualifying lap. Joseph Grima, the leaders of the 2 Ferraris in P4, with Bonto, the leader of the Mercedes, in P5. His teammate unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. Sorry, no, Charles is not a Mercedes driver. He could be a reserve. That's my bad. He was in a Mercedes at the beginning of the season. Either way, Atsu is in P6, the other Ferrari, and P7 goes to Trems J, who had an okay race, but he would have hoped to finish a little bit higher. A good recovery from P14 to P8 for Kurt, and Sab in the points with a P9. The final points position is rounded up by Sam Flan in P10. P11 goes to Jarrell with the Red Bull of Jolly Jollig in P12, the only Red Bull finisher tonight. LDR Gamer is in P13 with Sir Spud behind him in P14. Mikey in P15 and Nitrogash in P16, but as we know, these were all retirements. So P17 of JP, P18 of Daryl, P19 of Officer Red, and P20 of Tinus Optional all unfortunately found themselves in the barrier at one point or another tonight. Let's hope we can get these front 3 drivers in for an interview. The 2 Aston Martins were waiting to join, as well as Jack. But an interesting race tonight, Ewan.
Yes, very. Many incidents, but 6 DNFs. That was less than I was expecting.
Yeah, some brilliant driving from several of the drivers, but unfortunately some collisions did also happen around the track. We've got 2 of the Astons, and everyone is now in the party. So we will go to Bruce Lee Harding, the winner for Monaco. Bruce, what was going through your mind after you saw Jack just 5 tenths behind you with several laps left to go?
Not a lot, not a lot goes through my mind normally, but yeah, more than anything, it was just a case of sort of not giving him an opportunity really. Jack was way faster than me tonight, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, just sort of not making a mistake really. It was all I could concentrate on doing.
Yeah, and you did exactly that, and some issues for Jack behind you. I don't know if you saw what happened, but in the last couple of corners he hit the wall on the left hand side and he lost an end plate, but in the dirty air of your car he was really struggling to keep behind you.
Yeah, I mean he was sticking with me well, and then we came up behind Mikey's car, who'd retired at the chicane, and on my screen his car was solid, and it wasn't until I got right next to him that it ghosted, so I sort of dabbed the brakes, and I think it just caught Jack off. He damaged his front wing slightly there, but he was still keeping up with me. But then, yeah, a few laps from the end, like you say, he damaged his wing again, and I think Jack just decided just to sort of settle for second, and it wasn't worth risking it at that point of the race.
Okay, we didn't see the collision in the chicane at the time. We were on board with you, and we did see Mikey retire straight across the middle of the track, and we were a little bit concerned as we saw you try and navigate around the side of him because he wasn't ghosted, and we were a little bit concerned that it was going to be a pile-up. But fortunately, you managed to avoid that one.
Yeah, Mikey's parking skills have always been a bit suspect, to be honest. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things, really. It's a shame that sort of obviously that it caused Jack to just lose that bit of his front wing. I mean, I think I had it fairly under control just by blipping the RS into the tunnel and onto the main straight. It made it quite difficult. But yeah, I mean, I kind of got lucky really in that when JP and Jack were fighting a bit earlier on in the race, they sort of had a slight collision with some sort of hard racing with each other, and it just gave me the opportunity to get in front of both of them. I think that was probably the big difference in the race, to be honest.
Yeah, first place for yourself, and you didn't start even on the front row of the grid, but it goes to show that sometimes just getting your car all the way around the track and keeping yourself out of trouble is enough to seal a race win.
Yeah, that's it. Right, like I wasn't expecting to win or potentially even get a podium. Yeah, there was some quick guys that were further back down, or a few places behind me. Obviously, JPH normally is a fair bit quicker than me. But yeah, like you say, keeping out of trouble. I think Darryl broke a front wing, and then JP crashed, and then yeah, it just sort of opened up for me a little bit, really.
Yeah, either way, a first place, definitely going to be happy with that. Any questions, Ewan?
No, just a well done.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So, Jack, on to you. You definitely had the pace tonight, but unfortunately P2, not P1.
Yeah. I felt like I had the pace, but to be honest with you, considering the season I've had so far, I'm quite chuffed with second. I mean, yeah, sure, it could have been P1, but as soon as I couldn't get past Lee when he came out on the pits, when he had cold tyres on, as soon as that was it, I just couldn't get past, and I knew Lee wasn't going to make a mistake, but I was more susceptible to doing that, which is what happened.
Yeah, as Bruce said, you had the collision in the chicane with that retired car, but we did also see you struggling on the exit of the last couple of corners. Was that just the dirty air or the damage you picked up earlier?
No, it was just me being exuberant with the right pedal, to be honest with you. I was using the second gear and I just kept overheating the tyres just a little bit too much at a Rascas, and then Anthony Noakes was just the same, so I had to sort of change my ability on the throttle really. So but yeah, just me.
I think a little bit of a trap you can fall down is when you're so close to the car ahead, you're desperate to get through those last couple of corners as quick as you can and make the move down the start-finish straight, and to your detriment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a brilliant race from yourself, nonetheless. Any questions, Ewan?
Not really got anything to say. Well done.
Thanks.
Oh, actually, before you go, Jack, one more question. What happened between you and JP?
he was quite slow coming out the final corner, and I was alongside him. I wasn't quite perhaps long enough. I was by his rear quarter, but I didn't really have anywhere to go once we hit the first corner. I could have gone straight over and got a time penalty, but I didn't want to do that, so I just sort of tried to move over the curb as much as I could. But I don't know if JP realised I was that close, or should have been further over. We both lost time. It was just a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, we were on board with you at the time, but you did look like you were more than alongside his car and entitled to some space through that first corner. But it is so tight through there.
Oh, really? I don't know. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but if that's the case, then why am I not P1?
A good race either way. But on to JPH in P3. It looked like a P2 was on the cards, but obviously you can't double stack in the pits, and that caused you to lose a position, JP.
No, I think what cost me that was the front wing more than anything. I broke it on about lap 7, 8. And yeah, that's probably what cost me, because I think had I not had a broken front wing, I may have managed to jump both Bruce and Jack in the pits, because I decided to spare no ERS on my in lap. But it's a good result from 9th on the grid. I mean, at Monaco to claim a podium, you can't be too unhappy.
Yeah, you definitely can't complain. You said you picked up some damage. Did you carry that damage till the end of the race?
Yeah, I didn't change the wing.
Okay, I couldn't see that there was damage on board, but the damage model on the game's not perfect, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just going through Casino Square. The back end just had a small twitch after I got past Trems. And yeah, just clip the inside, and it was like halfway between yellow and orange, that sort of weird yellowy colour. So it definitely felt through the corners, but obviously round here track positions at the massive advantage, so you can kind of carry the damage along with you.
Yeah, as long as you don't have too much damage to drag you back into the wall, you can try and defend with that one, and that is what you did brilliantly. You started in P9, like you said, and finished in P3. What was the plan at the beginning of the race?
Finish, basically. get through turn 1 clean, and just put laps in, and what will happen. As we know with Monaco, it's the biggest thing is finishing and trying not to pick up too much damage along the way. It's, I mean, luckily I picked up 2 places off the start, which kind of helped me put in that sort of top area drivers, where obviously everyone was a little bit more careful because of their position.
Yeah, damage and penalties does tend to have a big effect on Monaco. I don't know if you saw what happened lap 1 before the hairpin, do you? You were a bit further back than the drivers I've just spoken to.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not really much I can say about other people, because to be honest, it was a bit of a lonely race. It was just once I got past Trems and I got picked to the damage, I knew the front lot were gone. So it was, yeah, it was just one of those races. It was probably one of the nicest drives I've probably ever done on this, purely from that perspective.
Yeah, P9 to P3 around Monaco of all tracks is definitely a brilliant result. Any questions, Ewan?
What was running through your head with Joseph Greener behind you, especially going into the last 10 or so laps?
Biggest thing for me was I was just picking when to use ERS and when I could save it, because obviously when I came out of the pits I had about 20-30%, and I knew where Joseph was going to potentially get me, which was basically every place you've got a decent exit with a fairly longish from Monaco straight. So it was just a case of blipping the ERS here and there when he was within half a second, just to keep him at bay, and just save the ERS, make sure I had a load for the last lap. Other than that, it was just again focusing on driving, because as long as you keep the car middle of the road around here, it's so hard for someone behind to overtake.
Yeah. Well, good on you, mate. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations to both Aston Martins for finishing in the podium, and congratulations to Jack for finishing in between the two of them. But that will be it tonight for the Invictus Racing League Tier 3 around Monaco, brought to you in partnership with Grid Finder. Tune in tomorrow night where we will see Tier 2 race around the Monaco streets at 8 PM UK time, and then we will see the pinnacle of IRL on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, covered by JPH and Webbo. And then we will be mixed up with the RP performances on the Thursday night. But that will be it tonight from me. As a thank you from me and a thank you from Ewan.
Thank you. Good night.